No, but this is.
Good morning, all. I would like to call this meeting to order and welcome everyone to our ACW Council meeting this morning. Welcome to all members of Council. Also welcome to all of our staff that are in attendance that will provide us facts and information so we can make decisions in the best interest of all of our residents of ACW, be it full-time or seasonal residents. Welcome also to all members of the public that are joining us this morning. It's great to have everyone here, and also any members of the media that will be joining our meeting. A special welcome this morning I would like to extend to Chantel Vrolick and also to Haley Govier. These are our two summer students that are joining us in the admin department in ACW for the second summer in a row. So thank you very much for coming back to us, and we certainly hope that you do have an enjoyable summer, and it's our privilege to have you working in ACW with our talented staff. Also, a special welcome to Sarah Tamming and Carson McNeil in joining us in Public Works, and again returning, and that speaks well to our staff in ACW when these students choose to come back and work in our municipality. So welcome. We do hope that you have a very enjoyable summer, and we look forward to your contributions. I would like to indicate that meetings of council are live streamed on the Township's official website in accordance with the live streaming and virtual participation of meetings policy. Do any members of council have a pecuniary interest or general nature thereof to indicate at this time of any agenda item that we have today? Thank you for that. We do have a set of minutes from the 21st of April, and I would entertain a mover and a seconder for the approval of these minutes, and that is Councillor Hickey and Councillor Snoblin, that Ashfield-Colborne-Wawanosh Township Council hereby adopts the April 21, 2026 council meeting minutes as written. Do we have any questions on these minutes? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion? And that is carried. Thank you. Open forum is an opportunity for any members of the public to make any comments that they would care to regarding any agenda item that we have today. Are there any members of the public that would care to make any comments at this time? Seeing none, we do have a variety of delegations, and we'll start with our public meeting, and that is a committee of adjustment regarding minor variances, and I would entertain a mover and a seconder to move into this meeting, and that is Councillor Blake and Forrester, that Ashfield-Colborne-Wawanosh Township Council hereby adjourns the regular council meeting and opens the Committee of Adjustment meeting to review minor variance application MV01-2026 Miller. All in favor of this motion is read, and that is carried. Thank you. I would like to call our Committee of Adjustment meeting to order, and again indicate that meetings of council are live streamed on the Township's official website in accordance with the live streaming and virtual participation of meetings policy. Does anyone have a pecuniary interest or general nature thereof to indicate at this time of this agenda item? I thank you. We will be reviewing the minor variance application file ACW MV01 Miller. Council has been provided with a copy of this report prepared by our county planner, Megan Hernick, regarding this application, and I would now like to invite Megan to address the meeting on the Committee of Adjustment on this application. Please, Megan.
Okay, good morning, Mayor and members of Council. Today we have an application for a minor variance at 37735 Belfast Road. And this is on the east side of St. Helens, and this is in order to build an agricultural livestock building. So here you can see the subject property outlined in orange. It is to the east of St. Helens. The property currently contains an existing dwelling, a shed, and a livestock barn for cattle. So the applicant is proposing to build a 40 by 100 livestock barn for swine to expand their operation. A survey was included as part of the complete application, and this shows the outline of the new barn in red, just kind of to the west of all of the other buildings. So based on the number of animals that they're proposing in the barn, the minimum required setback is 398 meters to the settlement boundary. The proposed barn location would be set back approximately 364 meters. So therefore relief is required in order for that 34-meter deficit. So here you can see the boundary of St. Helens. It's kind of grayed out to the left with a blue line. The approximate location of the barn is outlined in red, and then the required setback, the 398, is outlined in yellow. So the setback reduction is approximately a 9% reduction from the MDS. So no comments were received from the public as part of this application. ACW staff reviewed it and had no concerns. MVCA staff also reviewed it. It's not within their regulated area, so they had no concerns either. So the 4 tests of a minor variance have been met. The requested setback is minor in nature as it's only a 9% decrease. It can be considered appropriate for the surrounding area as it will allow for efficient use of the existing infrastructure on the farm. The proposal maintains the intent of the official plan as well as the zoning bylaw, and it limits the impacts to neighboring properties while supporting the long-term agricultural operations here. So it is the recommendation that ACW Council approve minor variance application MV01 2026 on the basis that the proposed amendments support the agricultural related uses while maintaining compatibility with the neighboring land use. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for that, Megan. And so it is the recommendation from staff that this application for minor variance be approved, subject to the following conditions, and that being that the proposed structure be constructed consistently with the site plan and elevation drawings submitted with the application to the satisfaction of the Township's chief building official. And secondly, that the variance approval be valid for a period of 18 months from the date of the committee decision. As this is a public meeting, is there any members of the public that would like to speak in opposition to this application? Is there any members of the public that would like to speak in favor of this application? Would the applicant care to make any comments at this time? Okay, thank you for that. So I'll now open it up to council for any questions or comments of our planner on this application. I see none, so I would entertain a mover and a seconder for the approval of this. Councillor Miltenberg moves, Councillor Hickey seconds that Ashfield-Colborne-Wawanosh Committee of Adjustment approve minor variance application MV01-2026 Miller on the basis that the proposed amendment supports agricultural related uses while maintaining compatibility with sensitive uses. And further that, the variance be subject to the following conditions. That being the proposed structure be constructed so the variance be subject to the following conditions, being the proposed structure be constructed consistently with the site plan and elevation drawings submitted with the application to the satisfaction of the chief building official, and the variance is of course valid for a period of 18 months from the date of the committee's decision. All in favor of this motion is read. And that is carried. I thank you. Megan, what effective public and agency comments would you recommend on this decision, please?
So I would recommend 2A, no public comments were received on this application, so there was no effect on the decision, and 3B, agency comments were received in support of the application, the effect of which resulted in a decision to approve.
Thank you very much. It is a recommendation that the effect of public and agency comments in this decision be 2A and 3B, and I will ask council for a show of hands if we're in support of this. And that is supported by council. Thank you very much, and thank you, Megan. With that, I would entertain a mover and a seconder to close the Committee of Adjustment. And that is Councillor Miltenberg moves, Councillor Snoblin seconds, that Ashfield-Colborne-Wawanosh Township Council close the Committee of Adjustment. All in favor of this motion? And that is carried. Thank you. And I will now entertain a mover and a seconder to reconvene our regular council meeting. Deputy Mayor Vanstone and Councillor Hickey, that council reconvene our regular council meeting. All in favor of this motion? And that is carried. Thank you. We will now move into our first delegation from the Huron Hospice, and it is a privilege to welcome Willie Van Klooster and Lisa Taylor. Also, Lynn Higgs is in attendance with this group, and I would invite you to make comments with a 10-minute limit. Welcome, Lisa, as chair of the board.
So good morning. Thank you for having us. My name is Lisa Taylor, and I'm the chair of the Huron Hospice Board of Directors. Having been with the board for just over 6 years, I have to say what an honor it is to be part of such a strong and engaged volunteer board of directors, and also to be part of such an excellent organization as Huron Hospice. I must also acknowledge my appreciation for the caring community support that we have had at Huron Hospice over the years. As many are aware, after finishing our renovations for the 2 additional beds that were to realize our 6-bed hospice goal, we were without ministry funding, and we were advised we could not operate the 2 beds. The closure of these beds has been felt in the Huron County community, and the annual operating costs being sought from the Ministry of Health is a meaningful and necessary investment in our aging community. So our purpose here is to ask for a letter to be signed by the mayor on behalf of council to the Honorable Sylvia Jones, Minister of Health, asking her to fund and open the 2 beds at Huron Hospice that have been closed for over 18 months now. As well, we are asking ACW councillors attending the AMO this year to advocate with the Ministry of Health representatives to fund and open the 2 beds at Huron Hospice. And if the beds are funded by that point in August, then to change that ask to a thank you on our behalf to the Ministry of Health representatives. And now I'll turn it over to our ED, Willie.
Thank you very much, Lisa. Welcome, Willie.
So we're starting with this slide, which is the drawings and the images related to the expansion of our hospice from 4 beds to 6 beds, because we knew right from the beginning when we were established in 2018 that the 4-bed model was not sustainable and would not meet the needs of our community. Whoops. Sorry about that. Right from the start, we knew when we were aware that there was just 2 hospices in the province that had 4 beds because the model doesn't work. This is why. Many of you would know about the hospice Huron Shores in Tiverton, close to Kincardine. So they have 2 beds and they're associated with a long-term care home. It's very typical for 1, 2, or 3 beds to be in a hospital or a long-term care home or a retirement home, and then they can share staff. So they don't have the requirement to have dedicated staff. They can share staff with the facility where they're found. Once you get to 4 beds or more, you're required to have a minimum of 2 nurses 24/7 serving the group, which is appropriate and significant. And in our case, with 4 beds, that's a ratio of 2 to 1, which is fantastic care, but very expensive. Once you get to 5 or 6 beds, 6 beds, for example, you've now got funding for those additional 2 beds. It's $175,000 per bed per year, but no need for extra staff. So those 2 nurses can care for 6 people as well as they can care for 4. So right from the beginning, when this round of funding happened in 2017, we knew we could, and we did, purchase that beautiful property on 12 acres, but had only the capacity there for 4 beds. And then the ministry told us that if we were going to access the funding, we had to have everything in place within a year or we'd lose the funding. So that year didn't give us enough time to raise the money, do the construction, and expand from 4 to 6 beds. So we started with the 4, but immediately we got from them an advance of some money from the capital in order to do the drawing. So by the time we opened in 2018 with 4 beds, we had the drawings all done for 6 beds, and it was very clear that's the direction we were going in. So we then started the campaign, And this was during COVID, of course, but still had a tremendous response from the community. And these are just some examples of names and organizations and families that you would probably know in many cases that brought in at least 10,000 or more. So I'm not going to go through this chronology except to say that then for the last 6 years, since the beginning of 2020, we began a process of engaging with the ministry to say, okay, what do we need to do now to expand to 6 beds, both in terms of capital and operating? So the capital process was moving along. It did slowly, as things often do with government, but we moved along. But at the same time, we were asking, what do we need to do for the operating funds? And what they did not say is really important. We did not hear at any point up until this past fall, sorry, there's no money. What we did hear consistently was, try this, talk to this branch of the ministry, and maybe they can help you with the operating funds. So we'd go and talk to them and they'd say, sorry, we can't do it. It's that branch. And we'd go to another branch and we kept getting moved around. And there were different initiatives. So at one point they said, we need a year of data that demonstrates the need in your community. Show us you've got 80% occupancy or more during a 12-month period, and that might get us the money. So we did that. We demonstrated 80%, and that didn't get us the money. And then finally, there was a new round of funding. So I told you the round of funding happened in 2017, which we accessed. A new one happened in 24, and they said, well, now apply to that bunch of beds and get 2 of those beds. And we applied, and we didn't get them. So we discovered subsequently that all other hospices in the province did get their orphan beds. These are called orphan beds when they're ready to go, but aren't funded yet. Funded except for one in Windsor and ourselves. So we frankly don't know what's happened, except that we've had 6 years and now we've been open for a year and a half with 6 beds. And they said it's against the law for you to open those beds unless you have ministry money attached to those beds. So we've had that period of time now with them being closed. And that has meant a real ethical dilemma for us, because we've now had 71 people that we've had to turn away. And of course, financially, it's really, really difficult. And you might ask, well, if it's not sustainable because that bed model doesn't really work, how have we survived? Frankly, we've been lucky. COVID helped us. You know, the emergency funding that was going on during COVID, we could access some of that, and that really helped us. We've also been very fortunate. We've had some estate gifts. You can't build your budget on estate gifts, but we've had some estate gifts that have really helped us to keep going. So we've bought time, but the time is running out, and we need to get those 2 beds funded. And the next round of funding, based on the last interval of 7 years, is likely to be another 5 or 6 or 7 years. We can't wait that long. So I just want to say we've had great support, great help. Lisa's been just as upset as we've been. She has actually called some of these meetings and has worked very closely with us. So here's where we're at right now. 6 years of using the regular channels, 14 meetings with ministerial officials and letters that have been had. We believe we've operated in good faith. And we've operated in good faith because we believed what they were saying, and we knew there was precedent. There was quite a bit of precedent that between funding rounds, often 1 bed here, 2 beds there, do get funded in these one-offs when there's a need presented. So we knew there was a precedent for it. We just weren't included. In our view, the ministry has not followed their own policy. It became clear to us in 2020, they said to us, Willie, you're going to have a problem with this because we are not allowed to give you money to expand the capital portion until we first give you the money to operate. And it just hasn't happened. So we believe they've been in violation of their own policy. We've now, it's at 74 people actually as the end of April have been turned away because our beds have been full. An interesting sort of stat here, the province has this intricate model of mapping out who gets turned away. We're the 6th highest of all the hospices in the province. That's a bad thing for how many people had to be turned away. So we have an 83% rating, which means for every 100 people we would admit to the hospice, there's 83 people we've had to turn away. So there's a few hospices that are even worse off. We're certainly in that top echelon. You may have seen this report from the 4-County Labor Market Planning Council, where concurrently in that 10-year period, there was a significant increase in the percentage of people over 65 in our communities, and a reduction at the same time of 10% in the number of healthcare workers. That does not bode well for us in terms of the future and the need that's going to be present. So we also know, of course, that hospice beds are much less expensive than hospital beds. So here's where we're at. We started in January to ramp up our strategies a little bit, and we did a letter writing campaign. We invited our supporters to write to the Minister of Health and say, look, we need your help. We need you who has the power to make this happen, to make it happen. And we're aware of 155 letters. We think there's been many more that we just aren't even aware of. Not a single person that we know of, including our board, have had a response. That started at the beginning of January, so we've had nothing. These letters, I've read every one of them because we got copies of them. They were deeply moving. I mean, deeply. I was moved to tears sometimes when people told their stories of, you know, my grandfather who was in the hospital and wanted so badly to go to the hospice and couldn't get in, you know, and died at that hospital, for example. So we're not aware of any responses, I said. We've now determined some new strategies. I can't share what that new strategy is right now. It'll be public in about a week, but we're working on another ramped up strategy to try to put more pressure on the government to say, look, we just don't understand this, and we think it's fundamentally a matter of justice that these beds get funded. So we're looking for your help to do that.
Well, thank you very much.
So there's the request for as Lisa already said.
Okay, thank you very much, Willie, and to Lisa for your presentation to us this morning. And I will open it up to council if there's any questions or comments as far as clarification. Councillor Snowblin first, please.
Thank you very much for your presentation. I can see you're very passionate about it. Good presentation. Dealing with levels of government can be extremely frustrating, so I do feel your frustration. I would point out that there's been 2 provincial elections since you first started in this, and I could maybe suggest that there's a little bit of confusion and delay and frustration based on that.
Yep.
However, my question is, I'm not really certain I understand how you do they base 6 beds, 4 beds, 2 beds? Do they base that at all on population, or is there population of the surrounding area, population of the catchment area, size of the hospital? Are there many factors that base that bed model on? Because I'm not sure I understood in your presentation where they get that figure from.
Yeah.
Thank you for the question, Willie, please.
We have heard, this has never been presented to us, but we've heard that the general rule they work from is 1 hospice bed per 10,000 population. Here in county, 60,000 people, 6 beds. So that fits for us. Now, after we were established in 2018, as you're probably aware, in Exeter, Jessica's house arose very quickly after Jessica died, very unexpectedly, and they had some money they put together, and there's 3 beds in Exeter. We have never heard them say that's an issue because, of course, the senior population in our county is much higher than the average, as you know, and so we don't think there'd be any barrier to them ultimately approving 9 beds for a 60,000 population, but that's never been presented to us, and that's been our greatest frustration is there's never been any reason given to us, just try this, try this, try this, right? So I'm sorry I can't be clear about that, yeah.
Okay.
Just a comment, then I just find that it interesting that they're not, they should be basing it on data. From my perspective, isn't that how you come up with a formula of funding something is based on data?
Yeah.
And it doesn't appear as though that's the case here.
Well, that's a good point. There was another bit of data they did do that they presented to us at one point, which indicated that there is a need for 2 more beds in the 4-county area of here in Perth, Oxford, what do you call it, Bruce and Grey. And so there's still a need for extra beds. And so, you know, we thought, okay, 2, that seems like the right number for us. And so that was at one point in our discussions that they'd raised that bit of data to us as well. So I'm not sure what happened with that. Yeah.
Thank you for that. Councillor Miltenberg, please.
Yeah, I'd like to support number 1 and 2. And if council chooses that, I am a councillor going to AMO, and I would have a further comment if council supports number 2.
Yeah, I concur with that, and I will also be joining at AMO with you. And I'm going to ask for a show of hands if there's a request, 2 requests, and I'm going to ask for a show of hands from council if we are in support of these 2 requests. And that is supported by council. Thank you. And a follow-up comment, please.
Yes. I think you had an excellent presentation. I think it was an overview, which was appropriate for 10 minutes. I am a passionate advocator when I understand everything. So what we can do is we can ask for a meeting but we don't know that we'll get one till quite a bit closer. But were we to get that presentation, I will have a lot of fairly in-depth questions that I would like the answers to, and I would like a tour of the facility so that I've done these before, and sometimes I've actually said to the minister, well, that's not entirely accurate, and then I go forward. So I think that's a great overview, but if you want, and it sounds to me, and I'm also a grant writer, that I would have some really specific questions for you. It would be far more efficient if I had a much deeper dive before I spoke with the minister.
At any point, ask us. And we have a chronology of events that's about 12 pages long of all the details of what we've gone through. And so we have a lot of data if you'd like it, or a lot of information.
Further?
Okay, yes, please.
If you, I'm a farmer, so I'm really busy right now. But if you could send me that, probably by July, I will be reading it in depth. And regardless, I'm interested in, if I see what I think I see, helping your cause.
I'll send it through the clerk. Is that okay?
Sure.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Perfect. Clerk, please.
I was just going to say, we'll connect about the letter to go to the ministry, and then I'll connect Councillor Miltenberg with you as well. Okay.
Perfect. And we will also include MPP Thompson in that circulation of the letter. With
And
Mr.
maybe just
Jones.
for the council's information, we're making this similar presentation to all of the 9 minutes. Actually, we're not doing South Huron because they're so close to Jessica's house. But the other 8, we're doing this presentation. I think you're number 5 at this point. So some of the other councils have talked about possibly working together on this. So I'll just leave that for your awareness that they might be doing that in some way together.
Perfect. Thank you very much for that. And thank you very much again, Willie and Lisa, for your presentation. And we do wish you all the best. And we will do whatever we can to support this very great cause. Thank you. I would now like to welcome Phil Beard, and it's great to have Ed McGugan with us today, also from Maitland Valley Conservation Authority. And I would invite you to make any comments at this time. And again, a 10-minute limit on this. So welcome.
I believe that's on. Yeah. Great. Okay.
Yes, it is.
I believe I sent a map is that possible to pull up? If not, we can go. Anyway, okay. Sure. Anyway, good morning, Mayor McNeil and Council. Ed McGugan is the Chair of the Conservation Authority, and he can speak to any political matters. I can only speak to facts and operational matters. So direct all political questions to Ed. So I was asked by our member Evan Hickey to do an overview of the changes that are coming to conservation authorities in the province. And I think everybody knows these changes are part of a larger plan that the province is making to other bodies as well, such as regions and school boards and who knows what else. These are not changes that conservation authorities asked for or even knew were coming. And we really haven't been part of the process to design any of these changes. We're just told these are the changes. The changes were outlined in Bill 97, which has now been passed, and it was developed based on the input from the ERO that was back in October. They had 14,000 responses. 97.5% of those responses were, this is a bad idea, don't do this. But the government said, we listened and we've acted. There was consensus and we've acted. So Maitland Valley has been placed in the Lake Huron Regional Conservation Authority, along with the Sauble Bayfield, Saugeen Valley Conservation Authority, Grey Sauble Conservation Authority, Nottawasaga Valley Conservation Authority, and the Lake Huron Regional Conservation Authority. So we will be the largest region in the province by area. There will be 15 municipalities. We'll go through that later. Now, these changes are going to be overseen by a new agency that the government's created, the Ontario Provincial Conservation Agency, which is going to provide us with guidance, coordination, technical resources, and identify consistent practices that all conservation authorities are to follow. This new agency has been given a budget of $20 million, which is 3 times the amount the province presently allocates to supporting conservation authorities. They are going to provide $3 million for new funding. It's unspecified what that money will be used for, but we all know when you do amalgamations, there's transition costs. And there's been no business case done to show what the cost of all of this is. You're amalgamating 36 corporations with operating budgets of over $500 million and billions of assets. There's no business case to show whether this is going to be more efficient or effective. The Ontario Provincial Conservation Agency has a board that directs it, and we just found out last week that 5 of the board members are deputy ministers, including the Deputy Minister of Sport, Francophone Affairs, Red Tape Reduction, Emergency Preparedness and Response. The chair and the 2 vice chairs positions have not been announced yet. So you'll notice in all of those deputy ministers, none of any background in watershed management, environment, rural affairs, or any of the things we deal with, except maybe emergency preparedness and response. The OPCA will also appoint the project executive, who will chair the transition committee. They will also be the new CIO for the regional conservation authorities for up to 2 years. And who pays for this project executive, we do not know. They're not telling us who's paying for this person, even though they're appointing it. Appointments to the new Lake Huron Regional Conservation Authority will be made by upper tier municipalities. There's 15 upper tier municipalities in the Lake Huron Region Conservation Authority, which stretches from Aurelia in the north to Lambton County in the south. So could you imagine trying to have a board meeting with those distances? It's at least 2 hours to go anywhere in the middle. And you can't, as you all know, have all your meetings on Zoom, even though it can be convenient at times, especially in the winter. We've been told that the upper tiers will get representation. However, we don't know if each municipality's vote will be weighted based upon population. What the minister has told us is that this government believes in representation by population. Well, there's 600,000 people in the Lake Simcoe Region Conservation Authority. The rest of the conservation authorities combined would not even come close to 600,000 people. So if they do representation or do voting by population, the rural conservation authorities are going to be outvoted at any time. If we have a 20-member board and they say that's the maximum and all 4 counties get a member, we'll have 4 votes on a 20-member board. So you can quickly see how the representation in rural Ontario is definitely going to be eroded. And the province has said that they will honor the program and services agreements that each conservation authority has signed with the lower tier municipalities. Now, those are 4-year agreements. ACW signed one last year. The transition committees are supposed to be set up June or July, and we have to have a transition plan done by February 1st next year. The challenge is going to be at the end of October, our boards will no longer exist. And the new regional boards will not start until February 1st next year. So we will have no governance for November, December, and January. We also have a municipal election in there. So how are we going to have transition committee meetings if we don't have a chair to guide us for 3 months? What could go wrong? Yeah, the other thing they're telling us is we have to do a 2027 budget this year. That needs to be approved by the lower tier municipalities, even though next year will be governed by the upper tier municipalities. And we have to have that budget done by the end of December this year. However, we won't have a board after the end of October, so we have to have a budget done by October this year. The province is saying that to replace the loss of lower tier support, each region can set up 1 or more watershed councils, which would be advisory in nature. and they will outline the structure of those watershed advisory committees or councils. And last but not least, that's a summary of the two sheets. Last but not least, on Friday, we received a directive from the minister that basically we've been placed under supervision by the province. We cannot sell or transfer any assets. We cannot sign any new agreements. We cannot make any changes to senior management staff. And it's not because we've done anything wrong. It's just to prevent us from doing things that they think may be detrimental to the new Regional Conservation Authority. So that's a summary of what changes we know about. Don't shoot me, I'm only the messenger. This is what we know. There's lots we don't know. Maitland Valley did issue a press release based on these changes, and I'll turn it over to our chair to speak to that.
Okay, thank you very much. Kelly, how close are we to our time limit? So it is the prerogative of council that we can extend a delegation, and I will ask if this is desirable and by this council. Show of hands, please. So please, it will be extended, and I would like to welcome Ed to make any comments at this time, please.
Thank you. Appreciate
Mr.
that.
McGugan.
I can talk fast. So
No worries.
I first of all, I want to thank you for taking the time to listen to what we have to say about conservation authorities. I appreciate the opportunity to come to ACW Council. Also want to extend a thank you to Evan Hickey. He's been a great vice chair of the Conservation Authority. Appreciate your efforts, Evan. One of the key things that we want to talk about is, to be blunt, is most of us have bought a vehicle before. Most of us don't pay what the sticker price is. We negotiate a little bit. And right from the very beginning, we've wanted to talk to the province about this and negotiate a little bit and say, hey, listen, you know, let's talk about this. Conservation authorities provide a valuable service in this province. One of the key things is this province is a great place to invest in a home, in a cottage, in a barn, in a farm, because there's a pretty good chance you're not going to lose your investment. There's a lot of parts in North America where if your home gets taken out by a hurricane or a tornado, that's it. You're done. There's no insurance. We have good erosion hazard zone and flood or hazard zone regulations in this province to help people make sure that they don't lose their investment. The key things that we're really concerned about is, sorry, let me back up a sec. The key thing we're trying to do from a strategy standpoint here is negotiating with the provincial government is say, please do not amalgamate the conservation authorities. Now, they may just go ahead and do that anyway. They do have the power in the British North America Act, but we're going to try and push them a little bit and say, listen, they've reversed decisions on airplanes. They've reversed decisions on the Greenbelt. We can get them to reverse this. If we go forward making things better and improving things, absolutely, that's what we want to do. But we just don't think that this plan is going to make things better. Simple from a clear standpoint, one of the board members of the new conservation agency is the Minister of Reduction in Red Tape. They've just added 2 new layers of red tape. The conservation agency, as well as the local watershed councils, is 2 more layers of red tape. We don't see how that's going to be better or more efficient. We really don't see how that's going to be better for our local municipalities. I think we're better off talking to the people in Roxeter than we are talking to the people in, who knows where, Newmarket, Toronto. You make your application to some computer in Toronto. Are they going to talk to you and help you reposition your barn so that it's no longer in a flood hazard zone? Not real likely. The other key thing is that lower tier municipalities are no longer participating municipalities. They're making a change to how governance works out in our rural and agricultural parts of Ontario without discussing with us at all. And that's a very big concern for people who are on township council, like I am, like you folks are. And we really don't think that that's appropriate. Last thing I'm going to say is that we've been working hard with Lisa Thompson, our MPP, Minister of Rural Affairs. She's been good. She's been helpful. It looks like there's a limited amount that she's able to do. I think the power in Toronto is in Toronto. So that's a little bit unfortunate, but she has been good for us. And so we want to continue to try and work with her. So we would appreciate your support in communicating to the province, specifically the Ministry of Environment, Conservation and Parks, Minister Todd McCarthy, that we don't think this is a good idea and it's not good for rural and agricultural Ontario. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ed, for those very honest comments. And I will now open it up to council for any questions of clarification. Councillor Miltenberg first, please.
Oh, I have lots to say that I'm not going to. Two comments. Phil, you have been a cornerstone of the Maitland Valley Association since I was a very young farmer. I knew who you are. And I'm sorry you are going through this at what I presume is close to the end of your career. But thank you for your years of service. And
A little grayer.
I'm really sorry that you have to put up with this. I'm just gonna not say
I
anything.
survived the common sense revolution, so I think I'll try and survive this.
All right, thank you. Now, this question is to Ed. I'm going to assume that you're gonna take the lead on a municipal delegation at AMO, or someone is. And if so, we'd like to get in, and at least I would like to get in on it, not the speaking part, but is there plans to request a delegation to AMO on this?
Thank you for the question. Ed, please.
Yes, we had a delegation to the minister at the Roma conference, and we presented our idea for a more local regional conservation authority based on the Healthy Lake Huron program. They did listen to us because they stole the name. That's all they did. But our mayor has asked that we reissue that resolution, and we are hoping to get a delegation at the AMO conference as well to re-request that same consideration. And any supporting municipalities in this region, we'd love to be part of that.
So
Please continue.
I think the more voices they hear, the merrier. I also think that if we were to make a delegation and you were going to make a delegation about the exact same thing, one of us wouldn't get in, and I would hope it would be yours. So, because you know way more about it than I do, really. Would you be interested in joining forces like the Huron Hospice, actually, that maybe some of the other people are being shoved into this group want to join us or whatever. That's just an idea I have, but that I'm leaving it in your capable hands.
Yeah, thank you for that suggestion. Ed, please.
Yeah, if I may.
We do not want to interfere. We would like to assist you.
Yes, yeah, and Mayor Don Murray has already been enthusiastic about talking to everybody in this whole catchment area. And if we can all collectively put our voices together and do a delegation to the AMO conference to the minister and show that regionally we are standing together, I think that puts us in a very good negotiating position. And I think so if we're together, we've certainly had delegations before these different conferences where we are together regionally, and I think it speaks very powerfully.
Yeah, so just to follow up on that, and then I'll let you continue. So as opposed to us at ACW requiring a delegation, would it be your desire that we would support your delegation? Just for clarification, Ed, please.
Yeah, I think that would be great. And we are already in the process of putting together our revised resolution or restated resolution. And so we'll be communicating to all of you folks and to your clerks and sorry, our clerks will be talking to each other, right?
Yeah. Okay, thank you for that. Please continue, Councillor Milton.
So a matter of process, generally, if we're going to make an AMO delegation, council agrees to it. So I would like to suggest that council agrees now that we do whatever Ed wants. So I'll put our names or, whatever the word says. Florence is nodding her head. Is that the appropriate thing to say at this time?
Yeah, so I'm going to ask council if we are in support of joining a delegation with Ed at AMO. Show of hands if we are. And that is supported by council. Thank you. Anything additional? You're good? Deputy Mayor, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is probably an unfair question, but looking through this, it looks like they want to run it and we pay for it. Is that what's going to happen? Because they're looking for a 27 budget from us, which will mean that we have to pay for it.
Yep. And that's one of the things that the Credit Valley Conservation Authority issued a press release, and they used a word that I don't think we quite dared to use, but I really wanted to consider it, and the word was outraged. And part of that outragement was that the minister said that, we've got this fractured conservation authority system that doesn't work very well. And everybody put up their hand and said, well, hold on a minute. In the Maitland Valley Conservation Authority, permit turnaround times are 5.7 days. And for every 100 permit applications that come in and that get approved, 100 applications, the staff works with the landowner to move the building, move the cottage a little bit so it's out of the hazard zone. So a permit is not even required. And to say that that is a fractured system that's not working very well, that's offensive. And we are kind of outraged by that. Now, that being said, can we do better? Sure, we can do better. I maybe, I shouldn't speak out of turn, but maybe everything works perfectly in ACW. I've heard rumors to that effect. I don't think there's an organization out there that can't make improvements, and we're committed to making improvements all the time. And I think most conservation authorities are. And I'm also the vice chair of Conservation Ontario. And we heard a presentation at the Conservation Ontario annual general meeting just last week. And some of the things that are going on in conservation authorities are absolutely amazing. And they're very innovative and they're very customer responsive. And I think that's what you get when you have local representation and local involvement in your local watershed. And so going up to a much higher provincial level, to use one small example, I know there's a town very, very close to here that's had some development on the south end and would like to move the 50 kilometers out a little bit further along on the provincial highway. And they've been waiting for 22 months to get approval to move the 50 clicks out a half a kilometer. That's what our concern is. As soon as you go up to the provincial level, how are these permitting things going to work? Are you going to let people build in flood hazard zones? And what do you do when they have a flood and they don't have any insurance? Or is the township going to be on the hook for those people's rehabilitation or moving their house, buying them out? That's what used to happen. And we've gotten better at that. We don't do that anymore. We don't let people build in flood and erosion hazard zones because it's a risk of life and it's a risk of property. So I think that a lot of the stuff, as Phil mentioned at the very beginning, this seems to be a faith-based decision, not a decision based on any data. And we would rather use some data, use some facts.
Thank you very much for that. Councillor Hickey, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to thank, if there's other questions after. Yep, no, but I just want to thank Ed and Phil for coming. I always think they have forgotten more than I will ever know. So I appreciate their knowledge coming. I think I said that right. Just a question for our council level. Is there anything else besides AMO we can do before AMO or after AMO that you can see us as a county level doing, advocating to the province against this? Or is there anything that we can do on our own?
That's politics. I'm turning that dead.
Okay, thanks for that question. Ed, please.
Well, the one thing is when our resolution comes out, supporting the resolution is helpful. And I think contacting Lisa Thompson and contacting the Premier are beneficial, like sending a letter. I think that Lisa Thompson has been a little bit beleaguered. I mean, she had the courage to support what we were talking about with the more regional conservation authority. She was the only one that did. She wrote a letter to the Minister of Environment. And I think that took a lot of courage on her part because she spoke out of kind of turn for the whole caucus. And she's kept her job. It's unfortunate she was not effective, but I think supporting her is going to be helpful because she is a Minister of Rural Affairs. And I think that if she has support from all of the local municipalities in her riding, I think it's more likely to keep her advocating on our behalf.
Okay, thank you for that. Are you also making a presentation to Huron County Council very similar to this on this subject?
It's been requested, yes. We have yet to get that coordinated. But
Yes, correct. Because there is strength in numbers. Yeah. Councillor Miltenberg, did you have a question or comment? Please?
I wanted to comment about something Ed said, and this is where I'm really happy that someone political is at the helm, because outrage is a great word, but not if you want to accomplish something. Being offended is okay and being righteous is okay, but outrage, when you don't say that, you don't put the other person on the defensive. So good job not saying it, although it was in your little quiet thought. Okay, thank you.
Just
Okay,
very,
please.
very, very briefly is that you folks know how it works. You know, the reality is that we have to still be at the table. We don't want to be on the menu at the table. And we need to be frank, but we need to try and be polite about it. So we are trying to make sure that all the communications that come from the Maitland Valley Conservation Authority are professional and polite, but firm, because we do have to look after the people that live in our watershed and look after the environment that we live in here. If the environment's not healthy, the people aren't healthy. People aren't healthy, the economy is not healthy. Any questions about that? Look at the South Sudan. The environment's not healthy, the people, the economy. Same thing here.
Okay, so in conclusion, there has been a request that we send a letter to the minister, the premier, and copy MPP Thompson on that from this council. And I'm going to ask for a show of hands if we're in support of this. And that is supported by this council. Thank you very much. Yes, please, question.
So, and it just came to me, it might be a bad idea, you might already be doing it. I totally concur with the mayor when he says there's strength in numbers, and I think the more times they hear it, the better. On a personal note, as a farmer, not as a counselor, I am outraged, as many of my peers. Is there something that the farming community can do to support this?
Thanks for the question.
The OFA has been a very strong voice in favor of a reasonable update to conservation authorities system across the province. And the OFA presentation was actually really good. It would have been lovely if they had just adopted that. I don't know if there's anything can be done more through that. I think that's one of the voices that farmers or representing farmers that can continue to speak to this is that rural Ontario, agricultural Ontario is a foundation to this province. It's also, by the way, foundation to the election of an awful lot of blue ridings. So I think it should be something that the provincial government should be listening to farmers in the agricultural and rural communities. And so the OFA is a great place to start.
Yes, totally agreed. And actually, one of the VPs is Ethan Wallace from Huron County on that. And that is definitely an advantage. Councillor Miltenberg, please.
One further question, I swear it's all. There is 3 major groups, the National Farmers Union and the CFFO.
Yep.
Have you heard from them all?
And a few.
And if you, yeah. Oh, that's right. Yeah, you did. Yep.
But not the CFFO yet?
Don't think so.
Okay, thank you.
No.
Okay, well, thank you very much
Thank
for
you
your comments and your presentation to us this morning. And as Councillor Miltenberg indicated, Phil, thank you very much for your leadership through the years and your dedication and commitment. You have demonstrated the unwavering commitment that you have. And thank you very much for that. And Ed, your leadership is much appreciated. Be assured of that. Thank you both.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. We'll now move on to item 5.4, and that is a delegation on behalf of Carrie Hunter regarding the quality of water in Dungannon. And I would like to welcome Carrie to the microphone and indicate that we have up to 10 minutes, Carrie, for this. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. I'd like to just thank the Councillor Evan Hickey for your support, Deputy Mayor Bill Valstone too. While numbers do show, and obviously our water looks picture perfect, this is what everything ultimately becomes. It's just, I don't think anyone should be drinking that personally. We go through a lot of bottles of water. The recycling getting collected every other week is also not enough. Different issue. Anyways, water has been an issue for a very long time, hence a new well being drilled. However, it didn't completely improve the water quality. While the textbook does show it passes, I guarantee none of you actually drink or cook with the water. If you did, you would notice that when you boil the water for cooking, or even just try and drink a glass of the water, you will end up with an upset stomach, nausea, or diarrhea. That's just the short-term effects. Long-term exposure at the current levels, and even more so when they were higher, are a major cause in cancers of the bladder, liver, and lungs. It can also cause type 2 diabetes, cardiovascular disease, hypertension, skin lesions, leukemia, lymphoma, neurodevelopmental defects, and adverse birth outcomes. It only takes very little exposure of 0.3 to 1 to cause numbness and tingling in limbs, as well as muscle cramps, rash, and burning sensation. There were 2 tests back in August, one of 10.6 and the other 44.4. It says they weren't from the true TW location, and we're kind of wondering where they came from and if we're allowed to know. Back last October 23rd, 2025, based on the August 12th, 2025 inspection of the Ministry of Environment, Conservation, and Parks, made suggestion regarding the municipality collaborate with Veolia to explore potential options or alternatives to optimize the existing arsenic treatment in place. The system is not performing as effectively as designed considering the raw conditions. Additionally, to seek out other municipalities that operate arsenic treatment and the Huron-Perth Public Health and them as well. Carbon filtration was suggested. I wasn't able to find anything in any of the minutes I found online as to if anything was ever looked into further, so I called the MEZP and spoke with them regarding if ACW had reached out, and there has not been any contact from ACW to the MECP for anything further. Other municipalities with this issue have brought in water from neighboring systems to help. Maybe that would be an option. Another issue is fluoride levels. They are above the allotment. If no one had ever told me personally, which was very recently, I would have never known that I shouldn't be buying fluoride toothpaste due to the amount of fluoride in our water. I know the testing requirements are every 60 months. But if the level is high in a municipality, would you not want to try and get that lowered and test prior? The fact that everyone is paying for this water, and we pay more than Goddardshink and Carden, yet we all continue to purchase plastic water jugs because the water makes us sick, so we spend thousands on safer water and can only use the paid water for showering and doing laundry, which doesn't come clean if you're washing your whites. The buildup on stuff from the water and discoloration is brutal. I've been here personally 4 years and have tossed out 2 humidifiers because I could just not get them to work properly after cleaning and scrubbing them. My current one purchase, which is what I showed, just before winter, is super orange. It's disgusting and makes you really wonder if you should be breathing that in. I appreciate you hearing me out today and really hope we can figure something out for the water, as not only do we all pay for it, but because none of us feel safe to drink it, we're disposing of so much extra plastic, which takes around 450 years to disintegrate, and that's just these small bottles. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Carrie, for your comments, and I will open it up now to council for any questions of clarification of Carrie on this. We will have a fulsome discussion on this subject under 10.1. Deputy Mayor Van Stone first, please.
Thank you. Has there any been testing at your house? Because I've had a previous example of this at my place. We were getting rust and dirty looking water coming in, and it wasn't the well. Everything was fine at the well, but the pipes going to the house were bad. They had corroded and stuff. So has there been tests at your place to see if that's where it's coming from? Because I understand we've had good tests at our well, but bad tests at the house.
So,
Thanks for the question. Carrie, please.
sorry. I did reach out to Veolia with a picture, the one that I submitted of the jug that had the off-colored water. I forget the gentleman's name. He said he was from Clinton. He came out and he was wonderful. He grabbed the water. I never heard anything back from it. He had just said like, yeah, we've been getting a lot of complaints. And that the supervisor didn't want to go out whenever he called him, but I never heard anything back of what any levels were from that.
Okay, thanks. Any other questions of Carrie for clarification? Councillor Hickey, please.
Thank you. Just a question. So there's 3 areas, I guess, the well or the pump house or the site, all the pipes through the town, and then into from the road on your private property. Excuse me. Can you say, and I don't want to know names or house numbers or anything, is, in your opinion, is this across the town, north, south, east, west?
Majority.
So it's not one specific house, in your opinion, it is through the town. So, okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions of Carrie on this? If not, as indicated, we will have a fulsome discussion on this under 10.1. And thank you very much, Carrie, for presenting to ACW Council this morning. Councillor Milton or Councillor Snoblin, please.
Could we just have a copy of your presentation?
Yeah.
Because I'm sure you were nervous and reading very fast.
Yeah,
And
sorry.
I don't know that I caught everything of it, but if you could just email it to the council.
Okay, yep,
it'd be
I can do
great.
that.
I don't know if anybody else felt the same way, but it'd be
Sorry.
interesting to have it. No, don't be sorry.
No, if you could email that to the clerk and then our clerk would extend it to all members of council. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much. Okay, howbeit it is 10 a.m. Howbeit we have a break for 10 minutes and we will resume our meeting after that. So we'll be in recess until 10:10. Thank you. Okay. So thank you very much to all members of council for that. We're back in our meeting, and we are now on agenda item 6. There's nothing under Treasury. Under the Planning Department, it is Bill 98, Homes and Improving Transportation Infrastructure Act 2026 Planning Changes. Megan Tidhernick is here to respond to any questions that council may have of this. It is for information purposes. Do we have any questions for Megan on this? Councillor Miltenberg first, please.
Well, I actually have quite a few questions, and I thought it was really well done, but honestly, there's probably more questions than answers in that. Where do you see the timeline for this? Because I see they have extended it to May 14th, and then there's like a lot of hoops for the planning department.
Thank you for the question. Megan, please.
So yeah, the posting on ERO is May 14th. It closes for comments. So, we have had different timelines for when these things are enacted, but certainly if we're going down the road of a different model for official plans, that timeline, I think it said 2029. We're not sure is the answer.
So that's going to make a lot of my questions redundant because I'm like, whoa. One that I'll ask in the future is because if you do have to end up rewriting the 10 official plans, what does that do to our responsibility? Because we just did our official plan and then we're supposed to do it again every 5 years as best practice or something like that. So clearly that's going to be a lot of work for someone. I did have a fairly specific question. Doesn't matter what page, but it's page 3 of 7. It says that we should include, your recommendation is that we include the Indigenous in our conversations. And I'm just wondering what that looks like in ACW. Happy to do it, but not clear of to what you are referring. Do we have an Indigenous near us that we would need comment from?
Thank you for that, Megan, please.
Yeah, so in the ACW area, we deal with Saugeen Ojibwe Nation territory. So we do have consultations with them when we do archaeological studies for new development or severances. We do consult with them for zoning bylaw amendments, like the 5-year reviews of them, as well as the official plan updates. So we are in, I won't say frequent, but when we need to have consultation with them, we are consulting with SON on all applications that are required.
They're included in the...
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
And then just one final question, which probably will answer a lot of my questions. I'm going to guess, although I could be wrong, that this was a fairly generic one that you're giving to all the councils. So when it says council should do this and council should do that, were you speaking specifically of lower tier councils or were you think of Huron County? Because there's a lot of things that councils would need to do if this actually passes, correct?
Thank you. Megan, please.
That is correct. This did go to Huron County Council first, and we wanted to let our local municipalities and townships know as well that this is coming down the pipes. The majority of these things will be at the county level, but will trickle down to the township as well. Case in point, site plan control. The township is the leader for site plan control, and the county plays a supporting role to our building department. So yeah, it's a mixture of both. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
thank you. There was just a few of them. I'm like, wow, do we have to do that now or does she mean county has to do that? So thank you. That I'll just cross them all off and I'll stay tuned to what you have to say if it actually passes. How's that sound? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any additional questions or comments for Megan on this? If not, thank you very much for bringing us to our attention and for the great work that you do on our behalf. Thank you. Under the building department, the community on-site septic inspection program, the 2026 inspection start. Again, this report is for information purposes. Do we have any questions or comments of Joy on this report? Or Joy, do you have anything additional you would like to add to this?
I would
Sorry. I would just like to comment that we did rebook the date for the septic social, as we found out there was a conflict with the June 4th date. So it has been moved to June 5th. That is a Friday afternoon, and hoping that all who have questions will come out.
So June 5th and same location, Ben Miller Community Hall, is that correct?
That is correct.
Same time, 1:30 to 3:30?
Yes.
Okay, so we'll note that that's June 5th, the 4th, okay? Any additional questions or comments for Joy? Seeing none, thank you very much for this and bringing this to our attention, and we wish you all the best with that open house. There's nothing under administration today. We will address 10.1. We had a presentation on this morning from Carrie, and I will refer to Tom for any comments that you would like to make on this. Tom, please.
Yeah, through the chair, thank you very much, Carrie, for coming down. I know it's intimidating to talk in front of council, and clearly you're very passionate about this. I guess, first of all, I know we all know, having sat through a bunch of reports on it, we did have an issue with the arsenic when the system was first installed, which was solved by more frequently changing the filters. So the result that you have now is that the water, the arsenic is consistently below 5, which is about half of the maximum allowable concentration. So we've had 2 years of consistent good tests. That being said, we did get the comment from Carrie about her water quality. We did send a representative from Veolia out that day. The suggestion at the time was to flush the water in the house. Now I've got Scott McGowan. He's the project manager from Veolia. He's come to discuss some possible improvements we could make to the flushing of the system. And if anyone has any more, like, I'm not a water operator. I know what I know and I know what I don't know. So when I don't know something, I get an expert to come in and give me a hand. So if you have any questions about the system, how the tests work, what the water quality is like, I'm sure Scott can answer it. Is he permitted to come up to the...
Absolutely. This is a very, very important topic to ACW Council of Concern. And just before, thank you very much for that, Tom. And I want to be very clear that the acceptable arsenic levels set out by the ministry is a level of 10, I believe, at parts per million, and we are consistently under 5. Is that your comment? Scott, please.
Yeah, thank you. Just to clarify, we are typically above the half max, so we're slightly above the 5, but we are below the 10, the actual limit. So consistently, there was one case last year, and it ended up being a result of the improper sample location. So what we were doing, we were sampling right at the discharge of the filters, and that led to a bit of a false high reading. So we did end up switching sample points to the true point of entry, which is where the treated water leaves the facility, and that we have not had any any samples above the limit of 10 since that point.
Councillor Miltenberg, please. Thank you for that.
This is maybe a broader overview question. I'm a little bit confused about what the expectation of what we're supposed to deliver is, because the comments that were made by Carrie, is that Carrie? I have a private well. I have been on a private well, 2 different wells now in the last 42 years. And the description that she has of water is our water. We have a water softener. You can really tell when it goes out because everything turns orange. Sometimes there's a real strong sulfur smell. So we now have 3 different residences on 2 wells, and the third one's just got a water softener because they said, what the heck is wrong with this water? So, because it's orange, everything's turning orange and it smells. All my relatives refuse to drink my water. They say it tastes funny, they buy it, they bring it in, and they've been coming for decades, and that's just a thing. And I go to their house in the city and I'm like, this is disgusting water. I won't drink their water. So I don't know how this is supposed to work, but what it sounds like is that she's drinking straight well water and not putting it through a bria or something, which we have, or just drinking it, which we also do. I mean, am I missing something? I don't quite understand what's supposed to be coming out of their taps when it comes out of the water and goes through whatever it goes through. So can I have some clarification on that, please?
Thanks for the question, Scott. I think we're dealing with hardness of water.
Sure. Yeah, that's correct. Yeah. So similar to your well, it is a groundwater deep well. So you're both the Dungannon water system and your well, I suspect, are dealing with hard water, which isn't abnormal for a drilled well in that situation. So what we do for treatment at the facilities is we have cartridge filtration and chlorine. So what that does is it brings down the arsenic level. It removes particulate. What it does not do is reduce that hardness. A system to reduce the hardness would be costly to do at the treatment plant level. However, it is something that homeowners may choose to do. And I would say municipal systems often, a lot of the residents still do require a softener, or prefer to have a softener to protect their appliances, et cetera, and that sort of thing.
Does that make sense? Please continue.
Yes. So a further question, and I think I'm asking for myself now. She mentioned something about fluoride and she didn't know she wasn't supposed to be using that. Should I not be using fluoride, or do you put on fluoride in at the treatment plant?
So we do not add any fluoride to the water in Dungannon. It does have some naturally occurring fluoride. So the maximum allowable concentration, as recognized by the ministry, is 1.50 for fluoride. The Dungannon water, I was looking at the most recent tests, it was 1.52. So it is slightly over that limit. However, that limit is something we deal with quite a bit in this area. Like a lot of the municipal wells in this area do have that naturally occurring fluoride above the limit. And all that's typically required is a letter goes out to the users every 5 years notifying that it is an excess. That 1.52, I would say, is safely the closest to the limit that I've dealt with in the area. There's quite a few municipal wells in the area that are much higher than that. And that letter generally just suggests limiting the water for infants and things like that. So it's not seen as a major health hazard. And again, we're not adding fluoride. It's just naturally occurring here.
Yep. Please continue. Thank you for that.
So now that I understand the water, thank you. So we are producing at pump level or pump testing where we test it suitable water.
Would you clarify that? Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah. Well,
yes.
I hope it's correct. We get the reports every month, right? So now there's a problem possibly in a home. Someone came out and checked it. are we responsible for the pipes, or is there a way to test it at, as Evan said, like when it gets to the house and then inside the house? And I should say that I'm a dairy farmer, and we are tested every year at different sites. It's not enough just to be the one site, right? You have to check. So is that in place in our municipality, or is it just our responsibility ends when it leaves the pump house? What is it?
Thanks for
we
the
at?
question. Scott, please.
Yes, so we do take weekly bacteriological samples throughout the system. So we are regularly testing the safety both at the treatment plant and out at the system. Typically, it's not within a house. There's sample stations out in the distribution system because we do sometimes there is concern of potential contamination from a fixture or things like that. So.
Okay, thank you. Deputy Mayor, please.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. You've got some proposals as how to fix this, so, or try to fix it. So that's where I would like to see us go right now, is to get on with trying this, come up with a solution for these people. If they need to buy a water softener, and the yellow water is iron, we all know that. So if our well is giving the iron and the hardness, that's something that we can't do anything about. That's water. But if it's out of the pipes or something like that, that is something we can do about, and we should look at it. So, and I don't know how long those pipes have been in the ground. Did we hook onto the pipes that were there that Dawson and all the people had in the ground? Because if they are, they're ancient and they could be bad. And so that would be my suggestion, is that we get on this as quick as we can and find out what's going on, and come back with a solution. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. CAO, do you have a comment, please?
Yeah, the system's relatively new. It was put in I would say 2002, 3, 4, 5, 6, somewhere in there. So it's a relatively new system. It's not the old Dawson system.
Okay, so just to follow up on this before we go forward. So Tom, it is your suggestion to do directional flushing, is that correct?
Yeah, so in talking with Scott, so the unidirectional flushing gives you an improved scouring of the pipes. So I think that's the first thing that you would try. So you would, I don't want to talk for Scott, so I don't want to say anything wrong, but you would try scouring, you would try increasing the volume of your flushes, maybe adding an additional flush. You correct me if I'm wrong?
Scott, is that reasonable?
Yes, that's something we could look at. The unidirectional flushing, compared to what we've done in the past, essentially we just flush all the water and it comes from every direction. It'll naturally come. Unidirectional flushing involves closing valves. So instead of pulling water all from different directions at once, you're pulling it along a focused section, and you can get a better, higher velocity flush out of there.
Okay, I think this would be the sentiment of this council, that be proceeded to. Oh, yes, please, Councillor Miltenberg.
So I have several questions about that. And in no particular order, and you have time to think about the first one. In your professional opinion, is that needed? Number two, this is a user pay system. So anything that we decide to do, I'd like to be really sure that it's the right thing to do, because we're not paying for it. So it's pretty easy to say, go ahead and do it. If it is the best and we're aware that other people are paying for it, do you have a cost of what it might cost? And while I am not unsympathetic to the person who was up there today, it is anecdotal evidence that everyone is having this issue. So is it most recognizing there are other people on the system affected by this decision? If it is a costly decision, is there something we could try first, like is there a water softener or a filter in the house, which is in my house because it's necessary? I'm eager to get the problem fixed, but not if it's an expensive problem. It's not if it's a system-wide problem. So I would like that clarified before I would support that.
Okay, thanks for the question. Scott, please.
Yes, with regard to the cost, the extra flush, if we were to do it, there could be a potential cost. However, it'd be hard to estimate what that would be. The unidirectional flushing, I think that's something we can attempt. And I don't foresee there being an extra charge. This will be our first time attempting it, so we'll closely monitor how that process goes. But we are scheduled to do our regular flushing anyway, and it's starting May 11th, I believe, is the intended start date. And I think we can attempt this unidirectional flushing without any additional cost.
Okay, thank you for that. Councillor Snowblin and then Councillor Hecky, please.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your qualifications and your expertise in this. What is missing from me in your presentation and also in the report is how long do you propose to do this directional flushing? What seems to be a reasonable timeline that you could determine a course of action that might be necessary after that?
Thanks for the question. Scott, please.
Yes, so as far as the time it would take to flush, it can vary and it's often weather dependent. But in speaking with the operators, we think under good weather conditions, we could have it done within a week of beginning to flush. It may take some assessment on how effective it was. The only real feedback, we don't typically see the color when we're collecting our back pea samples. The only real feedback, I guess, would be from the community, whether they've seen an improvement. Yeah, we haven't seen many complaints. I know we went to that particular site and checked it that day, but in addition to that, we haven't had a huge number of calls coming in.
If I may further.
Oh, absolutely. Please go
So
ahead.
I guess I was under a different way of thinking. I thought directional flushing meant that it was a procedure that was done every week, every month, every day. So you're saying this directional flushing is sort of a one-time only, and then you get results from it. Do I have that correct?
Please, Scott.
Yeah, so typically we flush twice per year, once in the spring, once in the fall. And yeah, and that will, I guess, sort of tell us whether the complaint stops or not there, or it may be an issue internal.
Okay, so a couple things I'd like to put before council. First of all, I think that seems like a reasonable course of action, but I would like to see a timeline on that. So if you say we're going to do this directional flushing, we're going to do it over the course of X amount of months or X amount of weeks, or we're going to give it a date when we have an idea of whether or not it's working. Because if it isn't working by a certain date, I think it's up to this council then or Tom's department to move forward with another alternative or to look at this again. That's one thing. The second thing, it concerns me about the fluoride. I understand that you've put it down that 1.52 is kind of the natural occurring limit, and the suggested limit is 1.5, which seems very close. And I understood from the person that made the delegation that, or from you, I don't remember, that the letter goes out every 5 years indicating what the fluoride levels are. I don't know if it's possible or not, but I think since it's so close to that suggested limit, either from a health department or from some department that takes care of fluoride levels, that I feel that letter should go out more often than every 5 years. And I would suggest probably every year, since it's so close, because residents come and go. And every 5 years, I can see where that would get missed somehow. And if you have children and they shouldn't be consuming that much, or at least in contact with that much fluoride, it would concern me that children are becoming very vulnerable in this. So I would love to see something on that. And then to go back to Councillor Miltenberg's comments about this being a user pay system, I understand that. But I also understand that when the water comes out of the tap, that's where you start to use it, and that's what you're paying for, is water that's coming out of the tap. I think the township has a responsibility to provide safe water. I fully believe that. I believe that in every municipality and every corner of this country of Canada, that everybody has the right and deserves to have safe drinking water. And whether or not they need a water softener, whether or not they pay for the water, it is incumbent upon us to ensure that the water that they're drinking is safe. So it can be a user pay system, but if I paid for, okay, just say anything, a chair, and I sit in the chair and it falls apart, do I still need to pay for that? I would relate it similar to water. I turn on the tap, the water comes out, I paid for it. But if it's broken, do I still need to pay for that? Because it's broken. It's not the same as what it is in other communities where there's a user pay system. So fair is fair, equitable is equitable, and I think that's where we need to look at. Enough on my soapbox. Thank you.
No. You brought up a number of valid comments, and I concur 100%. Everyone deserves safe water. Scott, would you like to comment on regulations, time frame, as Councillor Snoblin identified, letters, that sort of thing, please?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so the health unit typically issues the letter, and I probably need to review maybe with Thomas the procedure for getting it out to the residents. But we could certainly look at, that being more frequently. Maybe there's an opportunity there with when maybe through billing, I'm not sure, but if somebody new moves to the area, I don't know if there's an information packet that could be included in to notify them of the fluoride levels. But those are just some things that could possibly be looked at, I suppose, there.
Yes, please, Councillor Snoblin, does that meet your
Well, if I could make a suggestion, I believe our council has a member on the health unit, do we not? And would it? No? No? Okay.
Just a health board.
A health board, yeah. I don't know if it's appropriate at this time then to suggest that our council maybe appeal to the health board to ensure that those letters go out on an annual basis. I don't know if that's possible.
Okay, thank you. I'll defer to our CAO, please.
I think Scott indicated that he would look at that, so I think let's have our faith in Scott with Veolia Water and he can look after it. Also, I just want to clarify, there is safe drinking water, so that's not the discussion today. So Bill alluded to that what it is basically is it's hard water, and you have the sulfur smell, and that's what comes with it. So
Okay, good to that. I'm going to go to Councillor Hickey and then Councillor Forrester and Miltonberg in that order, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I got two questions. First one to Scott. We just heard about sulfur, iron, hardness. It happens. It happens in private houses, private wells. I've seen it. I've smelt it. Is there a standard? Are we at the standard for clarity and smell coming out of a public system to a house? Is it supposed to be cleaner or no smell coming from our system, or are we at that level yet?
Thank you for the question. Scott, please.
Yeah, so there isn't technically that I'm aware of any standard that covers like smell. There is certain standards like turbidity that judge the clarity of the water, which turbidity mainly relates to particles in the water, like solid particles, whereas a lot of the iron and hardness is more of a dissolved particle. So that's where color becomes into force, and there's technically no limitation on color. It's more of an aesthetic, like taste and color are both more aesthetic measures, I suppose. So they're not necessarily regulatory limited values. Obviously, it's something we do our best to avoid, and we hope that the flushing program can further improve that.
Okay, follow up, Councillor Hickey.
I got a second question.
Yes,
It's
please,
for staff.
absolutely.
It kind of brings together a few of the questions that have already been asked here. We've talked about the well or the system there, the hut, the pump house. we'll call it pump house. And we've talked about the house, and we keep talking about one specific house, and I've asked around Dungannon, and I've heard it's pretty well up and down every street. It's not specific to one house. So what's the common denominator? And it kind of goes back to the question that our CAO answered, was the system has been redone, but what about the pipes from the system to the houses? How old are those pipes? Is there any comment from anybody here on the pipes in the ground through the town, under the streets? Is there a breakdown of those pipes over the years? How old are those pipes? Could something be happening between the pump house and each individual house? Because obviously it's not just one house we're talking about the whole village.
Okay, thank you for that. CAO, please.
Yeah, the piping in the ground to the curb stop is all new. Yeah, it could be from the curb stop to the house, and that's not our responsibility. That's the landowner's responsibility. But the entire system was completely a brand new system put in mid-2000s. So
Okay, thank you
Okay.
for that. Councillor Hickey.
So just confirm what we're saying. That's pump house right up to the sidewalks, we'll say, was brand new 20 years ago.
correct.
And then across, and then from the sidewalk to the house is the individual property owner. If it is beyond that, if it's old piping or crack piping or whatever.
Correct. From the curb stop to the house is not under the jurisdiction of the municipality. That's up to the individuals. And I don't know how old a lot of those are. They could be really old if they were part of the old system that was in there before, but that's not our responsibility.
Okay, thank you.
Fair enough. Thank you for that. Councillor Forrester and then Miltenberg, please.
Okay, thank you, Glenn. I concur with Jennifer's comments. In the late 90s, we were on a dug well system and there wasn't enough water, so we had to go to drilled. So now we have softener in the house and at the barn. But my other question, is chlorine levels in every town the same? Because I think I've heard a lot of complaints that chlorine is high in Dungannon. Is that right?
Okay, thank you for the question. Scott, please.
Yeah, so chlorine levels can vary from system to system. The limits are essentially the same, though. You have to have a certain value or it becomes a case of adverse water. Oftentimes, I would say to answer the question, I would say that the chlorine levels are typical in Dungannon to the other systems that we operate. What the residents are likely noticing is the taste of the chlorine, which often it is a bit of a reaction, the taste and the smell to what else is in the water, so it can react with the minerals and whatnot. So that may make it, because it's a hard water source, it may make the chlorine more noticeable in Dungannon.
But is there a smell to the fluoride, or so it's
No.
reacting with that or something, or make it worse?
It'd be the chlorine reacting with the minerals and whatnot.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. Councillor Miltenberg, please.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify by Anita's reaction. I am confident, based on the fact that we read your reports all the time, and what's said, that the water leaving is correct. My question was more to, is it an individual problem as opposed to a system problem? And are we coming in with the sledgehammer before we check the individual? So, and I'm going to emphasize, my family thinks my water stinks. I don't have chloride and I don't smell it. I also think all hotel water is disgusting, which I assume is chloride. I don't know. But if the homeowner had a water softener and a Bria like I have, and I have to have, because I'm right near Dungannon and I'm sure we're in the same aquifer and it's hard water. Like, is it still a problem, or is the problem originating from us? That was where my question was. Do we need to do this? If we do, I'm like I said, we aren't paying for it, fine. It doesn't sound like it's going to cost, but in the meantime, I would suggest that maybe we need to look at the individual. And while I appreciate Evan's comments that he's gone up and down and there's lots of them, that's not actually data. And I like to make decisions that I don't have to pay for, that affect other people that they have to pay for based on data. So were we to think that we need to make a more expensive one, I would want to get hard data as opposed to opinions. But we're not there yet, but that's just my comment. I'm happy to do the flushing if it doesn't sound like it's going to cost much and it might help, but it also might not based on things beyond that control.
Okay, thank you for that. Last comment will be that of Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, if we go ahead and do this flushing and get everything done and it helps, that's great. But could you come up with a suggestion for these people? Like, I know my son lives in Godrich, and of course, with the water flowing up and down the lake, their chlorine is up and down and up and down. And he had to put a reverse osmosis system in to eliminate that. So I would like a solution for these people. Like, if the well is what the well is, and it's got sulfur and it's got all the rest of it in there, then, and iron, because the yellow will be iron, and you get high iron, it leaves a taste. And so if something as simple as a reverse osmosis system will solve that, if our water's good to where it's going, as you say, if it's good in those lines, then it's their responsibility from the line to the house and inside. So but there's no sense in doing all this if we don't have a suggestion at the end of it how to fix it. So I would like to see if you could come up with something like that for us. Or if not, just fix it and we'll march on. Thank you.
So last comment will be yours, Scott, on this.
Sure. Yeah, as far as a fix, like individual reverse osmosis systems at the home could potentially improve their quality. I would say that would likely improve their quality. As far as like a reverse osmosis system at the well source or things like that, that would be extremely costly, of course. I can consider alternatives. That may be something that would be best deferred to an engineer at that point, to consult with, and maybe a larger undertaking. I know there is other technologies that could reduce them, but they would likely be all relatively costly to do on the source water there.
Okay, thank you very much. We've had a fulsome discussion on this, and it is the sentiment of council. We want the safe water, and you have indicated that it is that way, and we look forward to that continuing in your reports on this and your due diligence. Thank you very much, Scott and Tom, for this.
Thank you.
We will now, there's nothing under drainage today. We do have our Public Works Activity Report for information purposes. Thank you very much for this, Tom. Do we have any questions or comments on this report? It is certainly encouraging to read that the road conditions in West Wawanosh have improved with the increased gravel, and we look forward to that continuing. Is there anything additional? If not, we'll move on to 1212, which is the bail wrap. There was a request that there be a report that has been brought forward. It is for information purposes. Do we have any questions of Tom on this report? Councillor Miltenberg, please.
It's not a question, it's a comment. I agree with that. We actually do switch energy. It's pretty easy. And if we can get more people knowing about it, great. It's a very simple program. Thank you.
Perfect. Thanks for that. Okay. 12.3 is a water tank quote, and we have read the report, and I would entertain a mover and a seconder for the acceptance of this quote, and that is Councillor Forrester and Miltenberg, that Ashfield-Colborne-Wawanosh Township Council accept the quotation for one 2,600-gallon water tank with water pump and frame from Precision Industries for the sum of $37,061.53, excluding HST. Do we have any questions or comments on this? Deputy Mayor, please.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through to Tom. This will be for going over after the calcium and dusty roads, is that, I'm assuming?
Thanks for the question. Tom, please.
Yeah, and if it doesn't rain for a couple weeks, you need to wet it before you grade it. So it'd be used throughout the year. We really would like to see this move through today so that we could have it next week for the crop.
Makes sense. Further questions or comments? All in favor of the motion? And that is carried. Thank you. Any committee reports that anyone would like to share with council at this time? Councillor Hickey, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just one quick one. We had a Dungannon Community Alliance meeting last week. Some events coming up with groups through the Alliance. At the rodeo this year, they're adding a couple things. They're adding concerts on 2 nights this year. Plus, they're going to have camping available on site, rough camping. The fair this year is running August 8th and August 9th. Tractor pull and everything coming back, plus some new ideas. The kids are, and then there's going to be the Friday night food truck again on the main street, as it's been there the past couple years. They're doing a kids market on July the 17th and August the 14th on the Friday night. The food truck is also doing some specials. They're going to have chicken finger night and Big Mac Supreme for those kids market events. And they're having a funnel cake night for school being out towards the end of June also. So the food truck is doing some exciting new ideas this year, and those are the events going on. Thank you.
Thanks for that. And the food truck is a great thing. It really gets utilized well, and it's good to see. Thank you. Anything additional as far as committee reports? If not, I thank you. Is there any new business that anyone would like to bring forward to a future meeting at this time? Seeing none, we have nothing under correspondence for direction, a number of items for information. The first, I will suggest the request for delegations. Would it be appropriate to support the presentation that we had earlier as far as delegation, as opposed to us requesting one? CAO, please.
No, I think that was already determined that they're taking the lead on that.
Perfect. Thank you. Is there anything that anyone would like to discuss on this? And I will draw attention to the Stratford Festival Civic Night and Blythe Festival Civic Night. And if any councillors are interested in that, please respond directly to those. Anything additional anyone would like to discuss? Seeing none, the AMO conference, we've talked about that with Councillor Miltenberg, myself, planning to attend. We have no bylaws today. We do have a closed session. And I would entertain a mover and a seconder that we move into our closed session. Deputy Mayor Vanstone and Councillor Forster seconds that Ashfield-Colborne-Wawanosh Township Council move into a closed session in accordance with Section 239 in brackets 2 and brackets E of the Municipal Act, with the CAO and clerk remaining in attendance at 10:48 a.m. for the purpose of discussing litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting the municipality, that being the Ontario Land Tribunal appeal with Lobel Sand and Gravel and the issue with that. All in favor of this motion? And that is carried. How long would you like, clerk, to...
Just a few minutes.
Yep. So let's break for a couple of minutes while our clerk secures the meeting. And thank you very much to all members of the public and staff for their attendance. Okay, we're back in our open session, and I will defer to our clerk. Is there anything to report out of our closed session?
There's nothing to report.
Thank you very much. I would entertain a mover and a seconder for the confirmatory bylaw, please. Councillor Blake moves, Councillor Snowblin seconds. That leave be given to introduce bylaw number 29-2026, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the Township of Ashfield-Colborne-Wawanosh Council meeting held on the 5th day of May 2026, and then now be read severally a first, second, and third time, and finally pass this 5th day of May 2026. All in favor of the motion is read. And that is carried, and I would entertain a mover and a seconder to adjourn, and that is Councillor Hickey moves, Deputy Mayor Vanstone seconds, that Ashfield-Colborne-Wawanosh Township Council does now adjourn to meet again on May 19th, 2026 at 9 a.m. or at the call of the mayor. All in favor of this motion? And that is carried. Thank you very much to everyone for your thoughtful input this morning. The meeting is now adjourned.